All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Two Planker Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Schaefer, and today on the show, we have the man behind the best competition courses in skiing. His name is Dirk Scheumann, and he is the CEO of the German company that has built the courses for Nine Nights, the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea, and now the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. I reached out to Dirk to learn a bit more about his company, their creative process, and to find out how someone starts a company this large. As always, if you like the show, be sure to subscribe and give us a rating. Follow us on Instagram at TwoPlankerPod, and send us a DM if you want to see someone on the show. Thanks to everyone who has already sent in names. We're working on setting up some of those episodes. Some of the people want to do it at a later date, so just keep sending them in, and we'll do our best to get it done. That's all for the intro. I hope you like it. All right. So here we are back with another episode, and we have a special guest on today. Dirk, would you like to introduce yourself for everyone?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Dirk Scheumann. I'm from Germany, and I'm the founder and CEO of Schneestern.
So this will probably be one of our most business-oriented episodes because I'm not even sure how I found out about your company, but when I learned that you guys were the ones responsible for building some of the best courses in skiing, I really wanted to reach out and find out more about you and more about your business. So I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more today.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm also cool to be here, and it's an honor actually to talk about the business side as well after so many years of writing and style and even lifestyle. So it's good to give some ideas even about the business background because it's quite important, to grow our sports and everything around.
Yeah. So Dirk, you're a great example of somebody that was a skier that loves the industry and then went on to contribute something significant to it. So if you could just tell people more about your background, maybe start with where you grew up, and then we can get into your ski career itself.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually quite a long story. It wasn't planned that I become a skier. So I've been actually born in East Germany, and in a little city next to the Czech border. There are some mountains, but there was only one little ski resort. So it was not a ski region. So it was just a little thing, and I remember when we went to the woods and was creating our own slopes. It was super rough stuff. We just it was far from all this crazy infrastructures and big ski resorts today. And then actually my parents went after the when Germany came together. They went over to West Germany, next to Munich, closer to the Alps. And this is when I was 14, and this was actually the time where I started to become a real skier. Because at this moment we had ski resorts around, we had mountains in front of our door, and I personally felt totally in love for skiing. And I always was, interesting in doing, different things, skiing in general, riding down a slope or carving what became kind of boring for me. And at this time, I was already becoming a kind of professional aggressive inline skater. And I thought, okay, this is a kind of similar movement. Let's try it on the skis as well. And it was actually the time when also in the US, the first free ski hype shows up. I remember when Salomon has built the first twin tip, the 720, or was it 1080? How was it, the yellow one, the ski from Salomon? I didn't remember actually. Anyway, so this was the time when the US boys shows up and show the world what you can do on skis. And I thought, okay, well, that's great. Exactly what I want to do. And at this time, I couldn't even buy any twin tips because they were simply not available on the German market. So, and thanks God, a friend of mine had a good contact to the US, and I gave him all my money I had, and he was organizing me some some skis from the US. And until I got the skis, I took my racing skis, 1 meter 90, was a head one, without any radius or something, super straight, and I just bend them up on the back to do some, to go backwards. And yeah, it was quite interesting time. So and then once I got the ski from the US, so I had my first twin tip in my hands. So I knew, okay, this is actually the beginning from something super big. I was super passionate, and from that moment on, I actually used every second, to be on the ski, to try it out, going backwards, started to try out some rails and everything. So this was actually the moment, where I fell in love to the free ski.
Yeah. And so I did look it up while you were speaking. So it was the Solomon 1080. It was the first twin
The
tip.
1080, yeah,
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 it was one of
exactly.
the first twin tips ever created. Um, and so who were your influences? Were you, how did you kind of become aware of freestyle skiing? Did you see people on the mountain doing stuff, or were you, on the early internet looking at videos? Like, how did you even find out that it was kind of a discipline within the sport?
I actually got the first pictures from magazines. There, at this time, there was showing up first magazines, and there was, they had some articles about the free ski from which happened in the US, and I've seen these pictures, and it was interesting. And then I did a little research, but it was not that, it was quite fast that it was clear for me. Okay, this is what I want to do, and now yeah, need to do something. So I banded up my skis. Um, I forced my friend to organize me some skis from the US, and yeah, this is what it started.
Yeah. And so where did it go from there? I'm sure, especially when the sport was first getting big, there were no really competitions, right? It was probably, did you know many people that were also into freestyle skiing?
At the beginning, especially in Germany, we've been, or especially me, I was kind of alone. There were some guys, they've been always a little bit different, and I was, before I went into this freestyle skiing, I was more on free ride and or big mountain riding, and these guys was always, even in Germany and Europe, they've been a little bit different, than normal skiers or racers or whatever. So this is why I has started to do the first tricks actually on powder jumps with big powder skis. This was kind of beginning, and out of this scene actually, there was a couple of people even here in Germany and Europe. They have started to get into more and more into the freestyle and the slope style idea.
Hmm. Wow. So, how long was it before you started to see success within the freestyle skiing world? I mean, did you start attracting companies that said, "Hey, you're kind of the only guy in Germany skiing this way. Let us give you a pair of our skis," or how did success come to you in the ski world?
I remember a friend of mine. He was a big mountain skier, and he has a contract with Atomic at this time. And he knows me, and he told me, "Look, Atomic will start to create a first pump track soon. Pump track, what I'm talking, twin tip. Sorry." And then he gave me the contact to the Atomic team manager, and I met him. I told him what I'm doing, and so I became one of the first Atomic Freeski team members in Germany. At this time, there was only one Austrian guy with me, so we've been actually two guys, and we got the first Atomic twin tip skis called Bump. This time was a, yeah, he called Bump, and to be honest, it was not the best ski at all. So we broke, I don't know, 15 piers a month or something. It was crazy. So even Atomic needs to try to figure out, okay, what is going on. And during the years now, they developed great skis. But the beginning wasn't that good, actually. So Yeah, this is actually the story behind. So over a friend of mine, I get into the first Freeski team from Atomic.
That's incredible. And so it's funny because especially the younger audience doesn't, I'm not sure, like they're aware of how fast skiing has evolved in terms of technicality and skill. So what, in terms of like the tricks that would really blow people away, what was it like in the day?
Um, I mean, the major goal at this time was simply to ride different. So everything what was different compared to what you could see as on normal slopes and skiing, that was allowed actually, So we start to go backwards. We start to jump everywhere. We don't. We've been this kind of rebellions actually also because no one really was. I don't know, thought about it. Everybody was what they are doing there. Now they coming in switch or whatever. What is this kind of skis? And was quite funny to see, and this is what gives us our motivation. And we start to do some, of course, 180s, 360s. Then we started to flip. I mean, back flips, front flips. It's nothing crazy, when you look at the boys today, what they are doing. But back in the days, it was crazy because you have never seen this. People didn't even know any jumps or rails. They was just wonder what the fuck is the metal piece doing there in the middle of a slope. It was super crazy. And once you slide over such a rail, people was just thinking what they are doing, what the hell they are doing. They couldn't understand it. No fucking way. And my personal problem was that they didn't even accept it or respect it. So there was kind of back in the days it wasn't not integrated in this ski sports society. So we need to actually also fight a little bit for it. And but yeah, back to the tricks. Of course, we started with all the basic stuff, and couple of years later, we have started to, combine rotation with flips. That wasn't at the beginning.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that what you're describing sounds very much like what I've heard about the reaction in America. People were not very receptive to freestyle skiing at the beginning. They thought it was annoying. They banned jumping on the mountain, all of that. The one thing that I'm wondering is, did snowboarding have any influence in Germany at the time? Because I know in America, like the birth of twin tips kind of came from seeing snowboarders in the park. So was there any influence there in Germany?
Yes, of course,
Mm.
definitely. And we all on the freeski scene should say thank you to the snowboarders because they have started the development definitely. And many of my friends has been snowboarders at this time, and of course they were super inspiring because they had already start to improve this kind of style and this kind of different riding, using different options on the mountains. And yeah, I would say they're a big influencer at this time, even in Germany.
Yeah. How long were you a professional skier before you decided that you wanted to change careers and do something, more traditional, but still pretty untraditional in terms of the business world?
Um, I was actually 6 years in an atomic team uh, as a kind of professional. Of course, it was far from the program the boys here have in the Olympic Games now. So it was more, of course, it was more easy. We traveled around. We had some events. Mostly was photo shoots. A lot of material testing. So we tried to develop skis, bindings, boots, because everything we got at this time was, super influenced by racing and the knowledge the companies had at this time, or from big mountain skiing and free riding. So it was super interesting time. It was low pressure, and it was and of course it was different. It was a rebellion kind of. At this time I had still hairs that have been green, so we've been also looking different, you know. So it was a good time.
Yeah. Have you always had a rebellious side to you that kind of drew you to this side of skiing?
Yes, always.
Mhm.
I don't know, you know, there are people they would like to do something standardized, similar every day, but I'm not. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe from my parents. They, you know, when they went from when they quit to be in East Germany, went over to West Germany, it was also kind of, you know, not the kind of normal movement. So maybe I got it from my parents. So I was always looking for different ways to do things, you know.
Yeah. So, based on my research, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like it was about 1999 where you started your company, and you'll have to forgive me because I can't pronounce it. What is the name of your company?
The name is Schneestern.
That is going to be trouble for me to pronounce. But
Oh fuck, yeah, that's if I could change something in my life, I would go back 22 years and change the name of the company for
yeah.
sure.
So, I mean, where did you get the idea? I read that you had some carpentry experience that could have, you know, prepared you for it. So how did you work yourself into creating your own company?
You know, to be honest, I've never planned to run a company by myself because I've been growing in a kind of, you know, normal families. I don't have any entrepreneurs around me or, you know, crazy people that run companies. Was super ground based, grown up with my brothers, my family. As you said, I've been a carpenter back in the days before I went back to university and become engineer. So super, yeah, ground and base level oriented. But I can tell you exactly why I founded the company, because it was of my conflicts I had this time. So I had actually two major conflicts. Um, the first conflict was after my kind of professional career as one of the first free skiers went to the end. There was no infrastructures for me to ride in my home resorts. So this was a big conflict I had, and I need to solve this, you know, because there was no park, there was no rails and nothing. And this is why I started to think about, okay, what can I do now to solve this problem? And I went to the resort and I tell them, look, we need some jumps. Would be cool to have some rails. Can I do something even for free? So I started to build a little park there for free. I was stealing some metal pieces from construction sites, you know, with my friends during the night, and then we installed them in the park and start shaping. So it was actually totally connected to my personally problem that there was no parks. And the second conflict I had, and this is a conflict which still motivates me, that at this time the free skiing wasn't that accepted, you know, by the skiing society at all. So I really want to change this as well, because since we have started to do this sport, I always thought, okay, this is really serious what we're doing, you know. Maybe we're looking different, maybe we have more fun than the racers, but come on, what we're doing is you know, it's serious. And now after 20 years we can see that it's an Olympic disciplines now, and the whole world is watching us, and what the guys doing is super crazy. So come on, it was a long way, but this conflict still motivates me. So to summarize, why I started the company is there was no infrastructures, and there was no, let's say, respect for the things we have started to do.
Hmm. Yeah. And so for people that like are unfamiliar, at this point your company has built, you know, the courses for 9 nights, the Olympic slopestyle courses, the big air courses. So what the company that you have now, did you ever imagine that it would get this big when you first started?
No, definitely no. It was a, you know, it was a kind of experiment. So at when there was a time when I was still at the school, on my way to become a civil engineer. Next to them, I started to build the first parks, did some drawings, and I thought, okay, maybe this is kind of cool to spend the winter in a park and build something. But I didn't realize at this time that that could be a really serious business model. And but then I could actually feel it that when I was starting to build something in my home resort, and I got a very good response, from people around me. They have seen me, and they were asking me, okay, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I start to explain them, and so I found some people. They slowly start to understand why I'm doing this and why many other people have started around the world doing this. So and this gives me a kind of motivation to give him a chance, And I said, okay, let's give him a try. And I founded the company just to make it kind of official. And yeah, I think the rest is history. Since that, I couldn't get out anymore.
Yeah. So the first projects you had were just designing the parks for local mountains. Did you do anything during the summer, or was it only in the winter?
At the first time, it was only in winter,
Mm.
but especially after the first winter, when I built the park in my home resort, even the summer became quite busy because I thought, okay, let's talk to other ski resorts about this. Some friends of mine, they did some events at this time, and they asked me, hey, can you help us to create a good jump, or can you help the resort to, I don't know, build something, because I know them. So it was started very, very small, and then it started to spread it away. So I did some visits during the summer. My first year, I visited in other ski resorts, and was telling them my story, and was telling them my thoughts about the future. And there was two more ski resorts at this time. They said, oh wow, that sounds interesting, let's give him a try next year. So I had something to prepare already in my first summer for the next winter. So, and this is how it became busy also during the summer.
Wow. So what was the first large project that you did? I mean, it seems like a lot of your work now is large events, especially in the skiing world. So what was the first, big project where you might have been like, wow, this is tougher than anything I've done before?
It's this is hard to say. I'm not sure if there was a moment where I can really tell you, okay, this was now the one of the toughest projects, because back in the days, even a little park or producing a rail or get them up on the mountain was fucking tough job, because no one really was supporting us. So we need to find creative solutions to to get the things done we had in mind. So there was no cat support, there was no snowmaking at this time. I had to ask the ski resorts to collect some snow somewhere that we can start building something. And this was the challenges at this time back in the days. It's not like today. Then when we here in China tell the boys, okay, we need this amount of snow, they press the button and boom, it gets out from a great snowmaking system. No, at this time we need to go to the official CEO of the ski resorts and tell them, okay, this is what we want to do. We need some resources from snowcats to collect the snow from this area to build a huge pile exactly here. And then we need this and this to shape it. We need fences, we need this and this. It was super hard to explain because they had no idea, no idea. So this was the challenges back in the day. So I would say each project was a challenge compared to the time we've been.
Yeah. And so especially at the beginning, what were the features that you were building? Because I'm sure they probably weren't as complex as now. Was it just simple rails and jumps?
Yeah, we at this time we had to use the terrain even more than today, because as I said, there was no snowmaking, and there was no groundworks. There was no big support. Not that many hours has been paid for the cat drivers and everything. So we really had to act quite smart and use the terrain as fast as possible. So this was the main challenge. And then of course we started with normal jumps. At this time we tried to figure out, okay, how this works. I remember when we built jumps, they had to take off with 20 degrees. Come on, this is, you know, crazy. When you look at the Olympic big air now has 39 degrees. So the geometries and everything has started to develop this time. And it was quite interesting and fun to see, you know, experimenting was good.
Yeah. Do you remember, because I like, at least in my experience, that starting something new, especially a business, you make a lot of mistakes at the beginning. Is there any early learning experiences that really stood out to you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there was really something wrong, you know. When you start to experimenting, it can't be really wrong, you know. Of course, it's not on the final stage where we are now, but this was part of the development process, right? So we just keep on trying and experimenting. This is actually still a huge character of free skiing and slopestyle skiing, right? Even big mountain riding. This is actually it's all about, you know. I just transfer what I've done as a skier into the business. So I keep on trying, you know, experimenting. It was similar to free skiing, to be honest, you know. And of course you can't, you need to, you know, you need to be careful and don't do crazy, you know, bullshit where you risk too much. Actually, even on the sports side, you know, if you want to become a very good sportsman, you can't risk too much. You know, you need to take it under control, and you have to feel safe when you try some new tricks. And it's similar to the business side, you know. I never did something totally crazy where I didn't feel comfortable. So this is actually the things how I, you know, have been growing as a sportsman and as a businessman as well.
Wow. I love that. That's great. And so, like I told you, I did some research. So I'd like to talk about the Nine Nights Project before we talk about the Olympics, because the Nine Nights Project, every year, at least in the US, we see these videos and we basically think like, what the hell is going on in Europe? Like they build a castle out of snow. And so this one interview with Red Bull, you said that this project took 3 years of snowmaking, or 2 years of snowmaking, and then 3 years of planning. So could you tell us a bit more about that event?
Yeah, that was, I remember it was in 9 nights in Livigno in Italy. And we had an idea to create this combined feature with a half pipe in the middle, you know, where Jasper was doing the double backflip from one side to the other, and the death gap we called. And I remember when we show up with the first idea to build something like this, I made a rough calculation about the snow amount we need. And we figured out, okay, fuck, this is way too much. You know, we can't even produce this in 1 year. And then we sit together with Nico, of course, and we thought about, okay, how can we make this happen? And then we show up with the idea, okay, let's talk to the resort if they actually are able to, you know, to cover the snow after the event this year. So the idea was to use the snow from 2 events plus the additional produced snow from the 3rd event to create this massive feature. So this is how we started. We started with the first event, build Audi 9's second time in Livigno, I think. And after we just, you know, saved the snow, we covered them. Next year, we produced the snow again to build the second feature, covered the snow again, saved them during the summer. And on the 3rd year, we produced again some snow on the old one. And then we had enough snow to create this massive thing with the half pipe and the two jumps left and right.
Wow.
It was a kind of process.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the it's such a big project. Where does it start? Does Nico at nines, does he approach you? Do you approach them? And then, after you guys agree, okay, let's work together. What's the planning process and like the envisioning of the actual feature?
Um, I think we need to go back a little bit to answer this question
Yeah.
because I remember when Nico and me was competitors on Freeski competitions, so it was quite interesting times. And we know each other for a long time. And um, when when his career went, also he starts orientating in different ideas, same as me. So I went to the technical side, as a park builder, and he went to the organization thing as a, he was organizing events, he was promoting sportsmen and so on. And once he gave me a call and asked me, hey, I would like to do an event called 9 Nights. And he explained me the idea. And then he asked me, hey, can you help me to find a resort? Can you help me to build it? And then I tell, of course, let's just throw together our competences. And then we have started to create this event. And since the first event, or since the first moment, I'm always together with Nico on the design part. So there's actually a quite cool thing every year, sitting together, making the designs, exchanging ideas, bring new people in, involve other riders. It's actually super, super nice because this is, where everybody is talking about, their own experience, their visions, what they have. And this is super, super interesting, compared to sitting in front of Excel sheets and calculating, amount of snow for the event later.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are really big ideas. These are, these features aren't your normal when a normal person thinks, "Oh, let's build something for a terrain park." They're not thinking as big as that. So, how do you what's the brainstorming process like? Do you just let all ideas flow as ridiculous as possible, or do you, how do you get in that frame of mind where you're like, yeah, use 3 years worth of snow to build a castle with a half pipe in the middle?
um, the let's say the problem on the skier side, or even on Nico's side, is that people can't really imagine what is possible to build out of snow, because they don't have the knowledge from the construction side, or even from a construction progress side. So I've been working as an engineer, and I was planning and developing houses and stuff like this. And for me, it was kind of normal to think even through more years in a period, because there are many construction sites. They have also not been done in 2 weeks, so it's kind of normal. And I try to what I always do is I try to inspire as a technician. I try to inspire the athletes or Nico and tell them, look, just let me know what you have in mind, and it will be my problem to build it. Okay, so just think crazy,
Yeah.
sky is the limit. Just let me know, even if it's super, super crazy. And then I came up with some ideas to give them some examples. Look, of course we can build a tunnel. Why not? And then, you're sure? You are sure? I say, yeah, fucking, we're sure. Of course, it's just a tunnel. Of course, it takes hours. It takes a lot of chainsaws. It will be pain in the ass for my boys later, sitting in this tunnel and chainsawing the whole day, with face mask and everything. But of course, we can build a tunnel. It's nothing what humans has never done before. So it's just a snow tunnel. And then they start to realize, okay, these guys can do this, and they can build not only 5 meters. If it needs to be 30-meter high pile of snow, okay, let's build a 30-meter high pile of snow. Whereas there's no problem, actually, if we have enough snow, and even if it takes 3 years to get them, why not? And then they start slowly to understand, okay, this is what we can do. And then the whole process become more and more crazy, you know. And this is actually the little bit the secret behind that. I was always pushing the athletes in Nico. I tell them, hey, just tell me, we can build everything, because snow is such a great material. I love it personally. So yeah, just let me know what you want to build and let me figure out how we can do this.
Yeah. And so, how closely do you work with the athletes um, for these projects? Are you consulting with them as if they're a part of the business? Like they're a vital part of the team, or is it like who has the most say, or is it kind of equal?
I mean, athletes always part of the team, you know, part
Mhm.
of the whole story. It's still about free skiing and the athletes and their stories. And of course, we have this kind of meetings where we involve the athletes and their thoughts. I mean, this is super important. Even for me as a designer, I love to talk to the athletes, you know, because I remember when I was still writing almost every day, I was too much focused on my own skills. So I actually I actually became a better designer when I stopped thinking about my own skills, you know. So there was a moment I remember where I told myself, okay, fuck, you're not ahead anymore. You're not there. There's so many people, they're writing so much better and more crazy. So I stopped thinking about myself and I was just watching these guys and try to figure out, okay, this is crazy what they're doing. And then I thought, okay, and now it's my, let's say, task as a designer to go one step ahead of these guys. So I try to isolate the status quo always, even here on the Olympics. I try to isolate the status quo, and for the next event, I try to step ahead, you know, even if maybe some of the writers can't really expecting until they see the designs. So this is something how I work now.
Mhm.
So as a summary, the athletes inspires me, and I try to inspire them back. You know, so it's a kind of process.
Yeah, I love that. And so it looks like, and again, please correct me if I have this wrong, just based off your website, it looks like the first Olympics you were involved with was 2018 in PyeongChang. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct.
So who was your connection with the Olympics, and how did you get involved with, the arguably the biggest event in the world?
Um, I mean, especially the Olympics, there's a special story behind, you know, and this story is connected to my conflict I had 22 years ago, you know, when nobody was respecting free skiing at all at this time. And when I've seen that the development goes further and further, I was quite early thinking, okay, um, if FIS is going into the sport, they need someone who is from the sport, who understands the sport. You know, I was a little scared at this time that FIS is taking over the sport, and then there are some people inside, they have no idea about the sport. And I was a little scared, and I thought myself, okay, how you can change something? And it's simple, you know, if you want to change the system, you need to get into it. It's hard to change it from the outside. So I was, I remember it's 10 years ago, I just give them a call and tell them, hey, look, because they are based in Switzerland, right? And we are quite close here in Germany to the head office of the FIS. And I told them, look, I'm quite close to you guys. I would like to show up and talk about this new development, what is going on. And I went to their headquarter, and we had a cool meeting. And since that, I was more than less in contact with them. So we exchanged some ideas. And when it came to the Olympic discipline, I told them, look, I would actually love to be involved in the course design and show the world what we have developed the last years. And yeah, they made this kind of I don't know if it was a, yeah, it was a kind of pitch. So they invite actually all the companies around the world, which has been able to deliver such a course in Korea. And then there was a kind of process where everybody was, made a kind of design and was explaining why they want to do it. And yeah, we've been lucky that they have been choosing our design in the end, and our thoughts. And this was actually yeah, the moment where I realized, okay, phew, now we can really show the world what slopestyle means. And yeah, I was super happy at this moment. I nicely remember this.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been a huge honor. Were you, I mean, you had already done stuff, you had already built amazing parks, but having, being chosen by the IOC or whoever within the Olympics chooses that, how did you feel? Were you nervous to have such a big responsibility for building the course?
Um, Actually, no, I was super happy, and I was so hyped. There was no space to be nervous. And we have done so many. We have done so many designs until this point when we've been chosen. So my table was full of designs, and everybody of them was super great. So I was felt super comfortable, and was super stoked, motivated, and I went into it super deep. That was great. To get this.
Yeah. So this year's course, it has a lot of, the Chinese influence with the design. Did you incorporate any of that in Korea?
We have tried. I have a kind of checklist for my course designs, and one of these six checkpoints is a topic. So I always try to use or find a kind of topic which is connected to the course design, where people can tell the story about it. And in Korea, we have tried to create something like this, and we have started to experimenting with this house thing. In Korea, we had a house because also in Korea, the special style of how they're building traditional houses is quite different to Europe or the US. And we thought, okay, let's integrate this house style as a story. But at this time, it wasn't, let's say, well done as we have done now in China. But this was actually the beginning, where we tried to integrate some culture things and monuments in the course design.
Wow. I have to ask you, have you ever played the video game Shredsauce?
Um, uh, this is a Freeski game, right? Isn't it?
It's a Freeski game, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think him. They've built the course, right?
Yes, exactly. So the Olympic recreation on Shredsauce was one of the most popular maps forever. So have you ever played your own course on Shredsauce?
No, but I sent a link to my son. I think he's playing right now.
Okay, good. So yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I feel like that would be, it's funny. Like in the game, you could build whatever course you want, and you could build whatever you want. It's kind of funny because you do the same thing, but in real life. So that's actually it's pretty cool that you're at least aware that Shred Sauce recreates what you build in real life.
Yeah, it's cool to see. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so so you secured that Olympics, and so now we're up to China. So how did this version of you having the Olympic bid, so to say, how did this all play out?
It was actually, I remember it's 4 years ago when I was there the first time in China, standing up there on the mountain and seeing the terrain, which was super wide, um, has a nice angle and a cool length. So everything was perfect chosen actually from IOC and FIS side. And I was sitting down and went through my checklists and start to feel it a little bit. I was still in China at this time, and then when I came to the point, okay, what kind of story we can tell with the course here in China. Of course, I came up with the Chinese wall, and on my first sketches, I put the Chinese wall in the middle of the course as a 200-meter long wall. And my first idea was to ride them like, from all sides, left and right. And I made some sketches, then I put it in the computer, did some 3Ds. And on my first meeting with the Chinese and with the FIS, where I presented them some ideas, I remember everybody was super, super stoked. They don't even care about, jumps or whatever. They just have seen the wall and how it was connected with the rideable features and the rails and, the watchtowers. And they just realized, this is amazing. There was 2-3 Chinese stand up and was clapping, and I was okay. I think we will go with the Chinese wall now. So it was actually the moment where it was clear that from this moment on, we need to develop during the next years and during the test events how this could work out with the Chinese wall. So it was quite clear on a very early stage that this will be a main thing on this course design.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sure where I read it. I think it was on New Schoolers, that the wall itself it helps out with the wind. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. This is what the last 3 years I was planning the wall in the middle of the course, and I have planning them rideable from both sides. So the idea was to ride on the wall, but also get down, get up again, went through with tunnels and everything. So the sketches I have, they're even more crazy than the course design we build now. But of course, it's not only up to me as a designer to decide everything what is going on here. The Olympic Games are a huge event, and there are so many people involved. They also need to do their work. For example, the broadcasters, so the OBS guys, I went to their headquarters in the summer, and they explained me actually how they work, with camera positions, what is possible from their side, and I get a better understanding also from their job. And they told me, look, if it becomes too crazy with dead angles or shadow sides, we can't, capture everything well for TV and for the people that are interested in it. And I get this understanding, and then the major things show up with the wind. So since 3 years during the test events, we realize, okay, there's a constantly strong west wind on this terrain. And as we could see now on the whole venue, there's been wind protection built on the half pipe or on the aerial side. And they also thought about to build this kind of wind protection for the slopestyle. But in the end, because of the massive groundwork we did and the table, they became higher than the terrain was. The wind fences needs to be that high that it was simply too crazy. It would be even looking super ugly. And we thought, okay, what can we do actually from a designer side to integrate a kind of wind protection? And then I thought, okay, let's take the wall, because I just thought, okay, where's a good place to be protected from the wind? It's behind the wall, right? So, okay, then I was shifting the wall idea from the middle to the very left side, rider's left side. So this is the west side where the wind is coming from. And I extend the wall on all rail sections as high as possible. And then I was creating the sections 1, 2, 3, the rail sections in a kind of terraces. So the highest point was the wall, and all the rails from there, from rider's left to rider's right, are designed by terraces. They always going a step lower. So this creates actually a perfect angle for the cameras, because you look like into a tribune, and it creates a great wind protection from the west side. And we still keep on going with the style of the Great Wall, and was of course integrating all these elements like the watchtower and stuff like this.
Mhm.
So this is actually the story behind. Was great development during 4 years actually.
Yeah. And so another unique feature about the course is that the jumps are pretty non-traditional for a slopestyle course. It's not three standard big air jumps. So what was your thinking? I did a little bit of background on your thoughts on this. So like you like to really push the boundaries for what's possible within the competition and keeping it non-standard. So what was your how were you keeping that in your mind during the planning process?
Yeah, you are totally right. This is again connected to my conflict, that slopestyle and free skiing needs to be creative. So I'm super scared that this sports became standardized in somehow, and this is why I always try to create new things, and give the riders some opportunities, even from their side, to be creative and develop new tricks and things. And this is why I was coming up with this school jumps, with the roller jump, with the side jumps and everything, because I figured out when you look around, there is more and more standardized 3 jumps in a row. So even on X Games we can see this now, and I'm not sure if you know if this is that cool. So maybe the school jumps are on the first time a little bit more complicated, and maybe riders needs to get used to it, or whatever, using some roller features or side hits. They need to get into it, but I mean, this is again what we have done 20 years ago. We still keep on experimenting and trying things out, and this is my personally philosophy, to not stop this anymore,
Mhm.
never. So I'm not sure how we can develop the jumps further. We are quite close to a kind of, let's say, standardized jump, same as in a half pipe. Half pipe back in the days has been way smaller, so they developed over years to become a 7 meter high, icy, standardized, crazy pipe, and especially on the jumps, I think we are close to a kind of standardized big air jump, because now we know what works, how we can do it with snowcats, how steep landings we can build, and so on. But for the slopestyle, I think there's the only sport infrastructure they can be still quite creative, and I would like to keep this in mind every day and on every design. So I really personally hate to do some things again. I always try to integrate something new. So I told you for my design point list, there's one point on it which really reminds me, okay, don't do the same thing as on your last course. Try to invent something new. So this is a point on my list for every new slopestyle course.
Mhm. And so one portion of slopestyle that's interesting to me, because jumps they go huge and there's a lot of innovation, but it seems like in the rail section of slopestyle, a lot of the times they'll do very safe, pretty basic tricks up top, just so they have that section clean and then they can go to the jumps. How do you, in your design, how do you encourage them to get more creative and do more difficult tricks up top rather than just standard whatever 2 on 4 out, 2 on 6 out? Like how do you encourage creativity on that first section?
I think the problem is that on the slopestyle competition, there is kind of pressure for the riders. They want to win, and of course they sometimes they choose the safe options, just to avoid some fails. And I can understand this. So this is why um, I like to build this kind of events like the Audi Nines, because, or other normal snow parks or rail events, because this is the moment where the athletes can train crazy things. they will not start to try out something never done before in a Olympic run. You know, I personally wouldn't do this. You know, it's not a chip session with your friends. That's the Olympic Games. You know, you have 3 runs and you need to nail them. So there's not crazy time to experimenting something. So this is why we try to put some standardized rails in these sections, but also give those guys, they want to go big, you know, with huge transfers or up on the house, you know, give them the opportunity, you know, just to stand out from, you know maybe the standard field, you know. Yeah, so it's actually not the time to experimenting on Olympic Games, but we still try to challenge the athletes. So this is why the rails are, yeah, I try to don't use that much standardized features and standardized takeoffs. So there are always little options where the athletes can figure out to go really crazy if they want to risk it.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that because you know that house, the speed was giving some people trouble, but I think it was when they did it right, especially you know Nick Gepper's doing whatever like a 6 with a safety out of it. It worked out really nice when it did work for them. So I like that you did that. Um, and that makes me think like, what do you, from your perspective, um, you know, sometimes the course gets like this year, especially towards the end of the competition, the commentators, whether they were right or wrong, were saying, "Oh, it looks like the course is getting slow and they're having trouble keeping their speed." You know, how much do you guys account for that in the planning process?
Yeah. Weather conditions is another checkpoint on the design list, of course. So on one side, we have a great opportunity here in China because it's constantly cold and we don't have that much snow. So we can create something crazy like a Chinese wall or complicate organic shape features, which wouldn't be possible to maintain in Europe or in the US or in Scandinavia, where you're expecting half a meter or a meter snow during the night. You know, the course will be, I don't know, will be gone for a week. So we couldn't even run a competition there. So this is why gives us opportunities, you know, for the course design. But on the other side, of course, this crazy coldness here under minus 20, 25 degrees, you know, it makes the snow quite dry. So, and this creates sometimes some speed issues. So especially for the jumps, we have developed a calculation program. So where we calculate the speed and the flight curves, and the jump design is I never go to the maximum. You know, I always expecting the worst situation, cold, wind, and snowfall. And in these conditions, the jumps needs to still work. You know, so this is, for example, sometimes the jumps looking small for the very good guys. They sand them down, and then sometimes it look, oh, right, that's maybe the smallest. The jump is too small. But if you look to the whole spectrum of athletes, even to the girls, you know, or in the field of bad weather conditions, then they barely made it to the knuckle, you know. So this spectrum is always important to keep in mind. And of course, I need to start on the very end of the spectrum where the girls can hit the jumps, where everybody can hit it on bad weather conditions. And from this on, actually, this is my the goal to keep an event running even in bad conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, especially for the rails out there on the house. I personally think the speed wasn't that crazy issue. I think when I watched the riders, they were struggling to get up on the house. They made little mistakes on section 1. Actually, you know, they didn't made it clean. If they went off from the race clean on section 1, they could gain the speed for the house easily. So when you, this is what I thought, you know, when I've seen the riders struggling to get up there on the rail. So
Yeah.
you need to be perfect done on section 1.
Yeah, big big reward, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the some of the calculations that go into it. So what sort of have you developed your own systems for, calculating, okay, if the kicker's 100 feet tall, how big does the landing need to be? Like what sort of math um, and programs are you dealing with now versus what you're doing at the beginning?
Um, we have developed a software to calculate flight curves and jumps and speeds and fraction and everything. So there was a friend of mine is an engineer, um, and he is also a very good snowboarder, and he was interesting what we are doing. And on a beer, we have been talking about some would be cool to have a program, to calculate just to let's say control our feelings actually, and to give all these, let's say, clients a better feeling about professional from our sport and from our construction side. And he said, yeah, that doesn't sound that crazy. So and he started to programming this kind of program. So I don't know, I'm not this kind of IT programmer for these things, but he meant well. We still use it, not that often anymore, because it's quite we have built so many jumps, and we have so many profiles on our database, so it's not a secret anymore, to build a good jump at these days. Maybe 10 years ago when people were still experimenting, but this is what I thought before. We are close to a kind of standardized, geometry of a big air jump. And this is actually a knowledge which is, open, and so many good shapers around the world has grown up, and they know how to build a good jump. It's not a secret anymore. And nobody needs to be scared if you ride a snow park at these days. It is, from my perspective, it is really kind of safe. It's not like 15 years ago. Wait, this was the time you should be a little scared to ride some jumps sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Like especially the old videos of like Simon Dumont sending
Oh
it
yeah,
to flat and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, wow, it's really interesting, man. And so I also wanted to ask you because slopestyle, a lot of room for creativity, but you were also involved in the big air jump this year. Um, and so will that be a permanent structure in that park?
Yeah, the bigger they have created in Beijing is, for me personally, this is the biggest sign that we made it with our sport. So um, I I was explaining you my conflict I had 22 years ago, that nobody was accepting the sport. This conflict is done since exactly 3 days. So because I can tell you, so um, we have built so many big air jumps back in the days made on scaffold. It was always temporary. And I thought, okay, when I heard about the first time about the idea to build a permanent big air stadium in the middle of Beijing, I thought, fuck, this is a joke. But then I realized, okay, come on, we have made it to an Olympic discipline, and of course now we need a stadium for this. Nobody is thinking about to building a ski jump stadium on scaffold, right? Or a bobsled track or ice rink or whatever. Of course, we made it to an official Olympic discipline, and now we need stadiums. And with this mindset, I was super happy that the Chinese and FIS asked me to be involved in the development of this stadium. And it was super cool time during the last 4 years being involved, seeing the development, seeing the speed, how the Chinese could create this kind of monument architecture thing. Was really, really great to see. And yeah, as I told you, this was for me a key moment in my life, actually, when this became true. And now I personally think now we made it, and we're on the eye level with all the other sports like ski jumping, bobsled, or whatever.
Wow.
That's a game changer,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. What did you think when they first showed you, hey, this is going to be next to a bunch of cooling towers? You know, it's a lot of people online were like, "What the hell? This does not look like a beautiful winter scene." What did you think when you said, "Hey, you know, basically looks like a nuclear facility. Let's build a ski jump here"?
I mean, first of all, this is far from a nuclear environment. This was
Yeah.
just a steel factory. You have it in the US, we have it in Germany, we have it all around the world. And everywhere people starts renovating these, let's say, areas, right? We do it in Germany as well. And everybody, some architects trying to use old, let's say, parts of these infrastructures. And these cooling towers, they are just massive, and they have started to build something inside. So in the future, you can go there with your wife and have a wedding there inside, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And when we're talking about winter wonderland, I mean, fuck, you look at the kids. They ski around the world. They ski in the cities. They do handrails everywhere. They're doing crazy wall rides in downtown, everywhere it's snowing and cold enough to get a little bit snow. Even I remember when we went to ice rinks and asked the hockey players when they get the old snow out, from ice skating. Even in summertime, we catch them with the cars. We went there with a pickup, get some snow on the pickup, and then we've been driving to the next rail in the city. There was no winter at all. There was no ski resort around, far from winter wonderland, and we just hit the rail there. And now we are in this in the center of Beijing, in this old, let's say, industrial environment. And when you look around, there are beautiful lakes. They have started growing trees. There will be a park around. I've seen so many nice buildings around. I was talking to the architects and I've seen their visions about this area. It's beautiful, super beautiful. And these cooling towers are just monuments, which actually reminds the people, look, these are old cooling towers from a steel factory. But now we use it to get into there for restaurants, for wedding or whatever. So it's really, really great to see. And yeah, I would tell these critical guys, they tell nuclear, whatever. I tell them, look, go there. It's super beautiful, nice. And it's a big honor that we could create our monument, the first permanent big air stadium for free skiing and snowboarding in this environment. It's super cool.
That's incredible. So I that brings us to basically all I have. Um, I got some just stray questions for you to close things out. So, looking around the world and in your experience, and I know you said you've never been to the U.S. yet, but what is the best? What mountain has the best park crew, and that it's building the best features?
Phew, that's a good question. The question is actually what means the best park.
Mm.
I was, we also did some mistakes in the past when we have only thought, as I told you, from our own perspectives as good writers, and from our perspective as, let's say, kind of core people. And so there was a time where we missed a little bit the connection, to explain to people, hey, you can actually start early. Let's involve the kids as well. So when you ask me what is the best park in the world, I tell you it's a kid's slopestyle. And this is a product we created 4 years ago when I was designing the or no 8 years ago when we designed the course for Korea. So of course I have 3 kids, and I was looking over my shoulder, and they asked me, what are you doing? And I tell them, yeah, I design again some ramps and stuff like this. And then I came up with the idea, okay, let's build it in our garden. So we made a little park in our garden. I made it with my kids, and then I came up with the idea, okay, why not build this setup in small for all the kids? So, and then we developed a product called Kids Slopestyle. So we built a very, very small park, in my home resort, and we built a gate, a huge entrance gate that everything looks like an official competition, like the Olympic Games, and we put a information plate on it where we explain the parents what slopestyle means. So this still, the parents are scared that the kids going with their skis sliding over metal, they're destroying edges and stuff like this. And I try to explain them, look, let them go, let them try, let them jump, let them destroy their skis. Anyway, they could now become an Olympic gold medalist. This is the discipline. It's all about this. Just let them try. And if I could choose something, I would build thousands of these parks, just to give the kids the opportunity to step into this world where we have been growing and what we felt in love with. And yeah, so hard to answer this question, but I personally like little kids park really, because this is where everything starts. And we should, yeah, keep on going, keep on more. I know it's hard for, young ones with 16, 17, 18 years. They just want to go crazy, they want to go big. But now for me as a father with my own 3 kids, I get this, idea. If we really want to develop the sports sustainable, even for the future in the next years, we need also to think a little bit more about smaller parks and how we get the kids into the sports.
Mm-hmm. And where have you been able to implement those parks?
We have implemented those parks in Germany in a couple of resorts, and we keep on trying to explaining this to other ski resorts. So I hope there will be. I'm looking forward to a cooperation actually with the ski federation as well, that they understand. Okay, maybe we can give a little support also to the ski resort money wise to create these little parks, to create further athletes for the sport. No infrastructure, no sportsmen, I think.
Yeah. Wow. And so you mentioned, I think before the call, your primary focus is Europe, and now you're expanding into Asia. What are your plans for North America?
Uh, so far, I have no plans for Americans. As I told you, I don't know why, but I was always super crazy inspired by the Americans, and I think there's everything started, since I bought the first ski there. But I never made it. I was super busy the last 22 years here in Europe to grow the company, and I think you guys, you also making great stuff over there. Everybody from Europe also is looking to the US, to um, X Games and Do Tour and what you guys doing. It's great. So actually, there was no need, So, but when I look to the other side, Asia, China, Middle East, even Europe, there was so much things to do, and I didn't have any time actually to visit you guys. So, but it's on my list, and definitely after so many years, I need to visit so many friends now. I think I need to plan maybe 2-3 months actually to get all these things done. I have on the list.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's a country the size of Europe itself, so there's a
Yeah,
lot to see. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So all right, the last question, and and so I think like what's so inspiring about you is that you're somebody who's developed a legitimate, true blue career within the ski industry, that it's not like you're picking up 3 part-time jobs to make it work. Like, this is a legitimate job within the ski industry. So I was wondering if you could share some advice you have for people that want to do something similar, or that would like to start their own business, and chase their passion.
Yeah, there's a simple tip I can give you. Just watch and ask yourself, what are your biggest conflicts, and then you have your business model. Simple. Watching for conflicts and solving them. This is what I've done my whole life. I've never thought about to run a company. I've never had planned to be a businessman or entrepreneur. I was just solving conflicts that I had by myself. And that's it.
There you have it. Dirk, I want to thank you for coming on today. It was awesome to get to talk to you and get to know you more and to get to see your product on television. So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for everything you've done for skiing. And yeah, it was a pleasure. Do you want to leave us off with anything?
Um, yeah, I also can just thank you guys that you were interesting on the stories behind, and I personally very thankful that I could actually do all these things. It's not only up to me. It was always a huge and a big team around me. All my shapers, they work for the company now. They're doing a great job. At the moment, my wife is sitting at home, with 3 kids, try to handle them. I'm here, have fun since 7 weeks in China now. So it's all together. So it's actually up to me to thank you, and all of you guys and around there to giving us that good feedback, and giving me personally the opportunity to do what I love to do. So I'm great thankful. So thank you very much for this.